everybody, Rick Peterson here, Goes to 11 Media. Today I am at the Festina Lente Winery. Today I'm joined by the Queen Bee herself, Teresa Townsley. Hi Teresa, how are you doing?
Great, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Guys, excited about this one. This is a really unique little winery that I'm going to let Teresa explain, because it's not just a grape winery, it's a winery with a twist, so let our viewers know what you guys do.
Well, the secret to our wine is we're actually making wine out of honey. We own our own bees, and of course we take care of our wines from bee to bottle, and we've resurrected an old product called mead, which is about 6,000 years older than grape wine. It's the oldest fermented beverage known to man, and it even predates beer. And what we've done is we've taken a wine that has been traditionally sweet and syrupy and sticky and given it a nice modern dry twist that is really food friendly and nice and pairable with pretty much anything you can eat. So we have 28 different flavors on site, and what we've done is updated it with modern twist to make it dry, food friendly, and sophisticated for dry wine drinkers.
Now, she says dry. I want you just to clarify for the viewers, because some people don't understand what that is. Can you just let them know what that is?
Sure, the BC Sweetness Codes, it talks about the amount of fermentable sugar that's left in the bottle. So when you have a dry wine, it's going to be a little bit less sweet or sticky on your palate. The BC Sweetness Codes go from 0 to 10. And so when you have a 0, it's a dry wine, 10 is a very sweet wine. Dessert wines start at about 5 to 6, ice wines are 7 to 8. Our wines go from 0 to 3, so about the sweetness of a Moscato at the very sweetest. We have all our own bees, so we try and keep everything as local as possible so that it's an environmentally forward bottle of wine. We actually put more back into the environment by the making of the wine than we take out of the environment. And so we treat our bees like they would be grapes. We don't squeeze them, of course, but we take their honey and we make our wine out of it, and we keep everything very local like that. So when we say that it's a very local wine, it really is produced right here on the property.
Now that's quite the process when you think about it, because you're not only having to wait for the bees to make the honey, and then you're having to harvest the honey as well and do all the, you have the centrifuge, whatever, for extraction.
We do, yeah. We call it Sputnik because you have to actually manually spin it, and it's fantastic. We do offer tastings and barrel tastings here in the tasting room of our 28 different wines that we do, but because of the manufacturing area being a sterile area, we don't have public down in the manufacturing area.
Another good reason to watch our videos, guys, to get behind the scenes stuff. So we're going to jump down there right now. Thank you, guys. We'll be back to you shortly. And Teresa, thanks so much for your time.
Cheers.
See you in a minute. All right, guys. So here we are down in the, what do we call it, the barrel room, or what do we call this?
Our tank room.
The tank room. So this is where I guess you're going to take the honey after you've done your mixing of the various ingredients in the other room, which unfortunately, guys, because of proprietary reasons, we can't show you. But we're showing you the tank room to give you an idea sort of the scale of what they do and put the effort into it. So please give a little bit of details what we do here.
Sure. What we have here are 17 tanks that we brought over from Italy that are stainless steel. The reason we do our wines in stainless steel is because it gives a nice clean flavor to the wine. And what you're noticing with our wines here is that there's a lot of tanks, and they all seem to be a little smaller than what you would expect from a normal grape winery. And the reason for that is because honey is not a product that that needs to be used as it's harvested right away. So we're not bound to doing all of our wine at once in September like grape winemakers are.
Right.
Yeah. So we're able to do small batches that are a little more artisanal through the year. And it allows us to change our flavors and play with our wines and have a lot of fun with our wines in these nice artisanal batches. Well, it's our experimentation we do in 5-gallon jars. So just like a home brewer would, we decide whether or not we like the wine or not and take it off to a bigger batch. But what it allows us to do is to fine-tune the wines on a smaller level. So for instance, if we have an amount of fruit, and when we use fruit additions to our wine, it has to be perfect fruit. It has to be the kind of fruit that you would give to the Queen of England, not just the kind of fruit you would eat at your own table. And so being able to distill our wines down into the best fruit possible and the best honey possible, and to do smaller and more controlled batches like that is a huge advantage for us.
Yeah, and one of the things, guys, that was really cool that I never knew before is that these tanks, they actually get kind of warm to the touch. It's not hot, but it's just kind of just above room temperature feel. But what was really cool is that when you put your ear next to it, you actually hear the fizzing sound of the fermentation process.
Yeah, these are our primary fermentation tanks, and we just pitched yeast into the tanks yesterday. So what that means is we've had honey and the fruit addition, in this case it's blueberry. And we put yeast in last night, so we check it, of course, on an almost hourly basis throughout the first couple of weeks, just to make sure that it's fermenting away. And one of the great sounds of our yeast working hard to make the wine is that fizzing sound, in where the yeast is actually multiplying on itself and chewing up all those wonderful sugars that were in the honey and the fruit, and making alcohol.
Now this may sound like a silly question, but when you say that it's eating up the sugars, is that what would make it more towards the dries? Is that part of the process?
The way we make our wine is that we ferment all of our wines to dead dry. So that's what we do. At that point, the yeast die off, or they go into almost like a comatose state, waiting for the next time there's sugar available, and they drop to the bottom of the tank. And so what we've got is a nice dry wine, no fermentable sugars left. If we do decide to make our wine sweeter, what we do is we back sweeten it with the original honey the wine was made with. So we're not using extra cane sugar or things like that in our wine. It's all very controlled, and as far as the process goes, again, environmentally friendly.
Right, and sorry, how long are they in these tanks again for?
These tanks, depending on the yeast, they can be in there from 1 to 3 weeks. And then the other tanks that you see in the room, they can be in for several months, depending on when the wine's ready to be bottled.
And that's these guys here, and the ones behind me here.
Yeah.
And then you said also you do bottle aging as well, is that correct?
We do, because some of our wines need to age a little bit longer, and as winemakers and people that are familiar with wine will remember that wine is ready when it's ready. We don't control our wine. Mother Nature controls our wine. We just kind of guide her into where we want to be. Right. And so when the wine's ready, we will release the wine to the public. So just like winemakers in France and in Italy, once the wine's done its fermentation, it either goes into barrel aging or bottle aging. In our case, we don't use oak on our wines, so it goes right into bottle aging, and there it sits in our aging room until we're ready to release it to the public.
Wonderful. The other thing that unfortunately, guys, is difficult to film, but in the back of the complex, they have like a farm essentially, and so a lot of the stuff that you're utilizing here, you actually grow on site. And what I thought was really unique was the fact that they got the beehives out there for doing the pollination and the collection of the honey, but they have chickens, and the chickens are pest control.
They are. The chickens do a really great job at controlling ants and all of the bugs that would affect our hives. And so we do put our hives right in the chicken run area. They're actually free-range chickens, so they get to wander around and peck at all the bugs, and they keep our hives nice and clean for us. They're not bothered by the bees. And the chickens also help us on the back end as well. So any of this yeast that you see bubbling or hear bubbling away in our tanks, once that's done, it's no good for us anymore. So the wine's taken off, and we have a residual sludge of yeast and fruit. That's fed back to the chickens, and it makes great eggs.
Wow, it's a full cycle. So you guys, you're growing your produce, you're raising eggs, you're doing your wines. I mean, it's a full little environmental circle that happens here. And that's what I thought was really special about the winery that you guys have, is that it's not you're just going to a commercial winery and here's the grapes that come in and this is how we do the process. I thought it was really unique what you're doing, because it's your own little microclimate here, what you do for everything. And I think it's just so special. And I think you guys need to come and check it out, because it's really cool. What I'd like to do now is let's head up to the tasting room and we'll go through some of the wines.
Fantastic.
All right, guys, we'll see you up there. Okay, guys, we're back upstairs in the tasting area, and I was just talking to Teresa. We were having a little conversation about corks. Now, traditionally, the corks are made from cork bark, and that's becoming a little bit more of an endangered resource, I guess, over the years. So can you explain what you guys are using and what's really cool about them for me?
Sure. That cork that you're holding in your hand is an environmentally forward cork. It's actually a product of sugarcane manufacturing, and it's made from the leftover fibers that are left over when you extract sugar from sugarcane. So this is a product that is made from a waste product from another manufacturing process, but it's an environmentally forward and an advantageous process for us, because when we have corks like this, we don't have to risk doing environmental damage like you would when you're peeling the bark off the cork. We don't risk cork taint, which is it's present in about 1 in 20 corks that you get. So it's a very high percentage of corks that have this bacteria that's on them. And then the other thing is that when you store wine, this particular cork doesn't need to be stored wet. So you can actually store our bottles upright on the shelf for cellaring, and they're perfectly fine. There's a few things that are great about this cork as well, is that we can, for aging processes, we can actually tell the manufacturer how much air and breathability we need in our cork for aging our wines. And our wines will age 20 to 50 years. So it requires a little bit of that air exchange in the cork, and these corks do that for us, just like a regular cork would.
That's amazing. I had no clue that there's a transference of gases, I guess, through that, and so that's really interesting to know. Now we have the stars of the day here for you guys. If you can maybe just give us a run through what the wines are.
Sure. I'm going to start over on this end here. This wine here is our Saturnalia. This is a cranberry mead, and it's kind of my Friday night date night wine because it goes well with popcorn, potato chips, salty snacks, nuts. Really lovely. Our goal with our wines is not to be a juice box with an alcohol chaser, so the cranberry is subtle, it's fresh, it's light, very wine-like, and a real patio favorite even when it's not in the winter time. But goes great with turkey dinner as well at Christmas. Then we have our blueberry mead, Bonus Aventus. This is a god of good fortune because it was our good fortune to meet our neighbors who happen to be organic blueberry farmers, and we use their blueberries in our wine. This one is a barbecue favorite, so it goes well with smoky barbecue sauce, with ribs, or with BC's salmon. It's also my choice for a summer sangria on a hot day. Then we have Terra. She's the goddess of the earth, and she's our strawberry rhubarb mead, which is available in gardens all around you here now. And this one here is really lovely with summer salads, a nice acidic vinaigrette. It takes the place on your patio of a summer rosé.
Okay.
And so the next one we have here are two special bottles that are done in half sizes because they're fun to play with. The first one is Flora, and look at the lovely color of that wine. That's our lavender mead, and she's the goddess of flowers. And this is a wine that you would have with things like egg and cheese dishes, French provincial cooking, something that's a little bit creamier, some nice creamier cheeses, and also with fettuccine alfredo to give it a nice warmth in the mouth feel.
Wow.
And then last but not least, we have our Canada Day release wine. This is our fun one, and it's the only product that contains something that's not produced here in the local Langley area. We've added maple syrup from Quebec to this wine, and we do tap our own trees here on the property.
Oh, really?
But they're not, unfortunately, sugar maples. They're big leaf maples. So they give a very little bit of sugar or a little bit of cranberry maple syrup for volume. So we do add some of that to our wines, and then we add the Quebec maple syrup.
Perfect. Well, guys, as you can see, we've got a group coming in. This is an actual functioning winery with a tasting room, so we do have guests coming in. Thank you so much for your time today. And I will put a link to your website up so that people know where to find your product. And guys, you got to come by and check out the product. It looks phenomenal. I really think this lavender one looks amazing. I'm going to take some photos and put it on there as well.
Awesome.
But thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you for coming by.
Cheers to you guys. We'll talk to you soon.